Toronto Raptors make history in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things that the Raptors did tonight that were amazing. Two things can be true. The Toronto Raptors did play one of the worst teams in the NBA. That is true. The Toronto Raptors also played great basketball for the most part today. That is also true. Sometimes you play bad basketball against a really bad team and win by 10. Sometimes you play great basketball against a really bad team that is extremely undisciplined, extremely immature, and you're on pace to win by 45. And then you put in a lineup that in 3.5 to 4 minutes almost gives up a 30-point lead twice. Oh, man. The story of this game was going to be, of course, the Toronto Raptors played massively undermanned. They were going to be without Emmanuel Quickley and Jakob Poeltl from the start. Then we get a late scratch, which is Brandon Ingram. All three of those guys had pretty bad games yesterday, so I was not crying over the fact that those guys were going to get some rest on the second night of a back-to-back. The Raptors haven't been good. And yesterday, that's all that matters. 1-0 in the Markelle Fultz era. I realize a lot of people are going to post strays on Markelle Fultz today because it just so happened that the 2 to 3 worst stretches of basketball, 2 of those came with Markelle Fultz on the court. In the beginning of the fourth quarter, he gets pulled after a minute as the Raptors continue to bleed. But unfortunately, that sputtering started at the end of the third. The Raptors played absolutely stupid basketball, including Scottie Barnes hitting a buzzer beater, which was a good part. But then Scottie Barnes leaving John Conchar open for 3. That was stupid. Back-to-back really bad decisions by Grady Dick, who honestly looked like the worst player in the building tonight, bar none. I don't care what people say about it, right? It looks bad. Fultz subbed in, and we had the lead all of a sudden in the first half, and there's a lot to say there. But the history was made nevertheless. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody. I don't think RJ Barrett's ever scored 18 points in any quarter, and he scored 18 points in that third quarter. Awesome, including multiple threes. That's pretty cool. The Toronto Raptors scored 49 points in that third quarter before things started to fall apart in the fourth. And I can say that is the most points the Raptors have scored in any quarter this season, and ties the most points that the Raptors have scored in any quarter in NBA history, in Raptors history. So that was pretty cool. It's a career-high assist night for Jamal Shead, who picked apart the worthless, terrible Jazz defense all night long. That was pretty cool. And this also feels like we're going to dig into the numbers and realize 14 guys had career highs in some department or another. I can't remember the last time Sandro Mamukelashvili ended up with this many steals. I definitely know that this is the most threes that Jacoby's ever scored in a game, at least this season. So there's a lot to take away from this game that was overtly positive. And you know what? I'm a little bit scared of that next game against the Clippers. I'm a little bit scared because I don't know how this team handles success. My history with this team is saying this team does not handle success super well. Okay. First of all, major night of upsets in the NBA. Major night of upsets. The Indiana Pacers win against the Orlando Magic. That is a massive upset because the Magic walked in 14-point favorites in that game. The Indiana Pacers are trying to lose that game. The Pacers were up double digits in the fourth quarter, and then the Magic narrowly pull it right there, and Pascal Siakam gets a block on a potential game-tying shot by Paolo Banchero. Paolo is super trash. Okay. That's an upset if I've ever seen one. That's a massive upset. No upset in Atlanta as the Atlanta Hawks proceed to whoop the Memphis Grizzlies by 39 points. That is not an upset. But the Houston Rockets being down almost 25, 30 points at one point against the Chicago freaking Bulls, then pulling ahead in the fourth quarter and proceeding to lose by 8 is a massive upset. That is a mega upset. That's a huge upset. I don't know what the hell to tell you. The Houston Rockets are supposed to be contending for something. The Chicago Bulls play 14 point guards all together at once. I don't understand how it happened. But man, that's crazy. The Bulls win by 8. The Atlanta Hawks did get that win against Memphis, which puts the Raptors in a precarious situation, which is basically you have to win now. Because if you don't win, Atlanta's going to pass you. And the Raptors come out and they proceed to put on their own ass whooping. By the way, speaking of upsets, Dennis Jenkins led the Detroit Pistons over Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves and DeAndre Ayton. First overall pick, third overall pick, first overall pick. Hey man. All right. I have never seen a game more simultaneously destroyed Luka and Cade's MVP case in one shot. I also heard today, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, that Alvin Williams thinks that Jaylen freaking Brown of the Boston Celtics would get his vote for MVP. He proceeded to thankfully claim he does not actually have a vote. And given that Jaylen Brown would be his vote, I pray to whatever God you believe in, that Alvin Williams never gets a vote for voting for MVP. Because if Jaylen Brown is your MVP, bro, he's not top 8. He's not top 9. Jaylen Brown over Shea? Jaylen Brown over Luka? Jaylen Brown over Wemby? Jaylen Brown over Jokic? What are we doing here? People just be saying bullshit, man. No, they should not. The Raptors should not sign Cam Thomas. Oh my God. Please stop. Please stop this nonsense. Y'all glaze 20 points like it's oxygen. Please stop. No, they should not sign Cam Thomas. There is a reason why the hapless Bucks and the atrocious Nets have basically waived that guy. He is way, way worse than he actually thinks he is. Jaylen Brown over Scottie, not on my ballot. But hey, man, maybe now you're questioning my basketball knowledge. But no, no. Who should we trade for Grady? The Raps will have to waive him. You might be right, because in a game where everybody looked good, Grady continues to look horrible. Grady is getting blown by 6'11" guys off the dribble. Grady is out of position every time. There's one defensive gamble all game that paid off. Grady Dick is so bad. Oh my God, blown layups, blown shots, left, right, and center. Okay. We do have to talk about the impact offensively of Brandon Ingram and Immanuel Quickley and Jakob Poeltl. You were without two of your best shooters, actually your two best shooters in the starting lineup today. And yet you go off and shoot a lot of threes, which points to my thought process, which is the Raptors' major problem is not that they have bad three-point shooters. It's that they have terrible, terrible three-point process. Take a look at the team stats. I think this is going to be dazzling for your eyes. The Toronto Raptors shot 54% from three. No Immanuel Quickley, no surprises. No Brandon Ingram, with the way he played yesterday, no surprise. You're missing your best screener in Jakob Poeltl, who is very positive for three-point shots. I can tell you that with confidence that Jakob Poeltl positively influences three-point shooting, and he didn't play tonight. So you're missing the two best three-point shooters from your starting lineup, and you're missing your best screener. Yeah, you're going up against a really bad team. Fine, I don't care. You still have to make these threes. 54% from three, 61% from the field should be, I believe, a season high for the Toronto Raptors. The Toronto Raptors offense was buzzing without the guy that most people think carries their offense like 90% of the time. Do you know why that is? Because without ball dominant Ingram and ball dominant IQ, everybody got to eat. With Scottie running point, we actually ran in transition and actually made shots in transition. Without Immanuel Quickley and Grady Dick siphoning the air out of the basketball and taking 3-on-1 opportunities and turning them into absolute garbage, you actually had Markelle Fultz consistently making good decisions in transition. Now, I understand Markelle had a very rough end to this game. He could be out of shape. This is the second game he's playing today. I think that's worth noting. It's also the first time he's playing with these players, and he looked absolutely flabbergasted trying to play with Grady Dick because he had no idea what to do. He had a turnover where Grady just didn't come to the basketball. You can say this is on Markelle. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this was an unbelievable debut. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raptors waived him tomorrow based on this game alone. But I do know that if Markelle has shooters and Markelle has a good screen setter and Markelle has at least one other secondary creator on the court with him, like a Scottie Barnes, Markelle will be fine. If the Raptors want to, pull the plug early on a 10-day, don't bring him back. That's cool. Markelle will be fine somewhere, I hope, and if nothing else, he's going to end up in Europe and he's going to be a fine basketball player. Colin Murray-Boyles was back. Colin Murray-Boyles was back, and he played great. So the Raptors had 4 players score over 20 points, including RJ Barrett, 27 points. I'm going to tell you this. I think RJ played fine. I'm not sitting here telling you he played great. He did not play great. He had a lot of really dumb ideas in the first half. He made some good passes as well. Made a couple of really, really smart reads. He had 6 assists. That is all positive. But I do not think RJ Barrett had a game that is like, oh my God, he carried the offense. No, he did not. But he got really hot in the third quarter. He got out in transition. He ran. Markelle found him. Sandro found him. And he ends up with 27 points. Scottie Barnes with 20 points. Now, 8 for 10 is very interesting because if I'm not mistaken, Scottie went 8 for 9 yesterday. Am I correct? Or was that the game before? That's great. That's great, man. Boost those efficiency numbers. But man, I would like to see Scottie go out for like 30, 40 points in a game like this. Nevertheless, Sandro Mamukelashvili, a player who has been struggling immensely, has the game of his life. 5 steals, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, out in transition, hitting threes, 3 for 6 from the three-point line, 9 for 14 overall from the field. Beautiful. Jamal Shed, team leading plus 29, came in back-to-back garbage time stints and saved the Raptors from an implosion of epic proportions that would have certainly caved in the Raptors universe. I can't even imagine what the hell the headline would have been tomorrow if the Raptors blew a 30-point lead. But nevertheless, Jamal Shed came in, 15 assists, 2 turnovers. Love it. Think he played fine. I'm not going to sit here and tell you he played great, but he played fine. He consistently made the right read. He found guys in cutting behind back door. The Jazz don't have rim protection. No Jaren Jackson, no Walker Kessler, no Lauri Markkanen. Dude, this is a team that is missing everyone. No Keontae George. I don't think people realize what the Jazz are missing right now. They're missing 4 players who would have started for you tonight. Easily. Maybe 5. Easily. They were missing 3 players who would start for you when healthy. So the idea that this is just the Ace Bailey exhibit right now, I mean, hey, Ace Bailey goes 11 for 21, 37 points tonight. A lot of it in garbage time, but, shout outs to Ace. He's been on a freaking tear. And in a game where his team gets blown out by double digits, he's only a -8. Elijah Harkless ends up -1, which is hard to believe, really. So it's basically Kennedy Chandler. Kennedy Chandler was awful. Raptors fans should, I think, at least at this point, be a little familiar with Kennedy Chandler. We talked about him a lot in the pre-draft process at one point. Kennedy was awful. The Raptors hunted him relentlessly. He was out of position defensively. He was hopeless offensively. He was just bad. But he does end up with 13 points, nevertheless, on 4 for 10. And they end up getting 24 points off the bench from automatic bucket, Bryce Sensabaugh. Shout outs to Lane. Lane was huge on Bryce Sensabaugh pre-draft. I was not so sold because of his defense. And honestly, his defense still leaves a lot to be desired. Nevertheless, for the Toronto Raptors, 21 points for Jacoby Walter, including 6 for 8 from 3, 7 for 10 from the field. Jacoby and Scottie shot a combined 15 for 20 from the field. And that, my friends, is all she wrote, because that's what you needed. If you want to add RJ Barrett to that, they ended up shooting 25 for 35 from the field. That's something. 25 for 35. And then you add Sandro Mamukelashvili to that. My God. Like those 4 players being stupidly efficient. Jamison Battle, 17 points off the bench, including 4 for 7 from 3. A huge part of why the Raptors were so good from 3. And yet it is precarious because on a night where the Raptors finally break out and shoot 54% from 3, there's Grady Dick shooting 20% from 3 again. Dude, at this point, Grady and Markelle need to have a kumbaya about broken jump shots because both these guys are in that mold. Trayce Jackson-Davis, completely unplayable. In 7 minutes, he was -15 and missed every single free throw he took. 0 for 4. What is going on with Trayce, bro? What happened to the Trayce Jackson-Davis I love? What happened to the Markelle Fultz I loved in the fourth quarter, man? Like these two, holy shit, they were bad. They were really bad. And Jonathan Mobo, shout outs to Jonathan Mobo, made both his shots tonight, including that nice little turnaround. He was -8, and he had 4 points on 2 for 2 shooting. Colin Murray-Boyles is back. Music to my ears. Colin Murray-Boyles is back. One of my favorite rookies in the NBA this year. No glaze, no Raptors bias involved at all in that. I love watching CMB play defense, and he was like, I didn't miss any time. 5 blocks tonight for CMB. I believe that's a season high. I want to double check that. I think that's a season high. There's no way in hell he's had 5 blocks before, right? So he had 5 blocks there. He had 4 blocks against New York, 3 blocks against the Lakers, 3 blocks against Philly. Yep, that's a season high. In fact, I don't remember that many games with him getting like 3, 4 blocks even in college. So this might be like the most blocks he's recorded in a game in a while. So that's pretty cool. I mean, shout outs to CMB. That's great. You know, and again, like this is so impressive for your defense for him to come back on his first game back and give you 3 offensive give you 3 rebounds, 5 blocks, 4 rebounds, 5 blocks, only 2 turnovers, 9 points, all of it in 17 minutes. That is good. It's good. It's like great to see. Uh Gosh, who else? Okay. From the Jazz side, is there anyone else that really stuck out? I know a lot of people were really butthurt over Kyle Filipowski. Hopefully, you know, you don't have to feel too bad about it, but it's worth noting that the Jazz were +6 with Kyle Filipowski on the court. He does present some interesting spacing concerns, and overall, I think it was just lucky stints for most part. Uh, Teacher Mike saying CMB is going to be a monster with stocks. Well, join the club, man. Join the club. Scottie Barnes already a monster with stocks. Imagine having 2 of those guys defensively. That would be great. CMB continues to struggle a little bit with the finishing at the rim and stuff, but hopefully that'll get better as he puts on a little bit of strength. I think that would be very great. Okay, so coming into this game, Jacoby Walter was shooting 53% from 3 over the last 5 games, 40% over the last 10. Very good. If you didn't catch my video on Markelle Fultz getting signed, it is right here, and I think it was cool. It was a cool video. It breaks down Markelle's film, talks about the jump shot. We got to see it. We got a little chance to see that jump shot, including a wide open free throw line jumper as, you know, just the sea parted and he just bricks it wide open. So hopefully he'll get one more chance. I'm praying he gets one more chance in a blowout or otherwise. Hopefully, you know, if Quickley's out for 3, 4 games, maybe we can see a little bit more Fultz and just give him a chance to just get acquainted with those teammates. I really like the synergy with him and Scottie. I like the synergy with him and Jacoby. I can imagine a world in which he can play really well off of Immanuel Quickley as well. So, you know, that'll be nice to see. Prior to the game, I said no Quickley, no Poeltl, no Ingram. Raptors will start Jacoby, double exclamation point. As I said last game, we need to start Jacoby. And Markelle Fultz will actually get minutes off the bench. I'm excited. Well, I was excited. Okay. First quarter overreaction. I said the Raptors really want to lose this game. And man, I did not love this start for the Raptors. This was an RJ post up that I'm for some reason not being able to show right here for a second. But yeah, here we go. So this post up. Now, this kind of stuff drives me kind of crazy if I'm being honest. Like, this is just bad process. This is a pass out to Sandro Mamukelashvili if I've ever seen one, or to Jamal Shed. You've got to trust your teammates here. And here you're taking a double and you're falling right into the other guy. You're basically guarded by 4 players. Just pass to Scottie, pass to Sandro, pass to somebody else. Getting blocked like this by the Utah Jazz is embarrassing, man. Just stop. Okay. They have no rim protection. Either make your move faster or do something else. Speaking of doing something else, I really like this pass by RJ Barrett. This is great. Do this more often. Now, again, a lot of the talk coming into the season was Scottie's going to get a lot of off-ball touches. He's going to be, you know, diving to the rim a lot, connective roll passes. Okay, we haven't seen a ton of it. Okay, if I'm being honest, we haven't seen a ton of it. We've seen a lot more Scottie initiating from the post, Scottie, you know, trying to create off the dribble, Scottie, you know, getting pull-up jumpers, post-ups, turnarounds, etc. But here, this is an idealized version of how the Raptors can use Scottie at least 4 or 5 possessions a game. He's really good at this. And instinctively, he makes great reads when the defense collapses in these situations. Guaranteed, if the defense was there or if Walker Kessler was playing, that is a clean pass to Jacoby Walter if I've ever seen one. So, yeah, man. Here I said that is my point guard. We're going to take a deeper look at like all of Scottie's positions after in the first half, but here's a momentary glimpse of hope for Grady Dick. This is nice. Look at it. He does this at least, I want to say once a month. At least once a month, there is a very creative finesse finish, and you're left wondering if only Grady was as good as his highlights. Here I said, welcome to Toronto. Now, look, one of the things that I said in the Markelle Fultz live prior to the game was that one of the things I love about Markelle is he consistently keeps his dribble alive, which is something I cannot say about any Raptors player or any Raptors guard, period. RJ picks it up, Scottie picks it up, BI picks it up. These guys are slow to gather, slow to process, slow to execute, slow to capitalize, slow at everything, right? There were some really bad possessions with Scottie initiating today, too, where he just gets totally his handle gets clamped up. He ends up in the side of the, side of the, and he ends up picking up his dribble, or he ends up like, dribbling into a trap. Markelle does not have this problem. And this is why I am so optimistic and hopeful that the Raptors will give him more of a chance. Because, again, whether Markelle is the right player for this team long term because of the jump shot and the health and all that stuff is a completely separate issue. You need a player who can create off the dribble. I don't care if it's Markelle Fultz. I really don't care if it's Colin Sexton. I don't care who it is. Just find somebody who can do this and find somebody who can make this pass. Now, defense cuts him off. Notice the handle never stops. He never stops probing, thinking. His head is up. His head is on a swivel. And here you're seeing this, which again, if this is Quickley, this is either a turnover, a forced shot, or a pass out to Grady. But here, Fultz is just going to wrap this around the defender, knowing that this is not a great rim protector, and Colin Murray-Boyles is going to get to the line for 2. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's awesome. Now, speaking of Markelle Fultz, here, Fultz, simple entry pass to Scottie Barnes. What do you do once you pass? You cut. And here, once again, knowing that Tshiebwe is not a great rim protector, Markelle Fultz is just going to elevate over him and use all 6'9" of that wingspan and just finish. Once again, to the people who are saying like Markelle Fultz is terrible, yo, I will remind you, this is one of the cleanest looks. Look at his head right now, right? You got Jamison Battle up here. You got Sandro Mamukelashvili up here. You got Scottie Barnes kind of coming into the paint. Potentially, if Markelle Fultz continues to drive, this will be an alley-oop. But Fultz gets his defender on the hip, and immediately once the commitment happens, and it's impossible to think that either Oscar Tshiebwe or his defender is going to come back to Sandro Mamukelashvili, he takes the momentum of the play and whips it back. And look how accurate that pass is. Look at where it meets Sandro Mamukelashvili. Again, there's a lot of English on that pass. Some of these passes are not very accurate. Look where the ball falls. Right into the shooting pocket of Mamukelashvili. Not the most shot-ready execution for Mamu, but great overall. Here I say, this is unforgivable process. Now, anytime Grady Dick is on the fast break, hide your kids. Hide your wife, hide your kids, hide everybody, because shit's about to go down, okay? Now, right here, RJ Barrett totally fucks this up in a million ways, right? But Grady also fucks this up. Like these two on the break. So RJ Barrett is thinking score. At all times, RJ Barrett is always thinking score. I don't like to call players selfish because there's a connotation where it kind of extends into their personality and stuff. But as a basketball player, RJ Barrett is relentlessly selfish. He will do almost nothing for anybody else and everything for himself to score. You see him like snapping his feet up and down when he hit that second 3. Like this guy thinks he has a one-track mind when it comes to basketball, and his basketball mind is like my shot, my shot, my shot, my shot. Okay, so here Grady is thinking like this. Okay, now if you're RJ Barrett, slow down or speed up. You're making it so easy for this one defender to split you. And in this case, like just take a wider angle to the rim. Why are you going into the defender? You're just making this impossible for Grady to finish too, right? If this is Scottie, either he's going to stop a little bit short to be a trailer so that we can get, like, you need to create separation on a break. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't know how many of y'all played basketball or you ran a 3-man weave or you did fast break drills, but they always teach you to kind of create proper spacing on a fast break. This is atrocious spacing. Straight up, this is atrocious spacing. You're not a You're not an explosive dunker. You're not like Vince Carter. If this is Vince Carter, by all means, cut right down the middle. I don't care. I just have to throw the ball up, and you are going to soar over the defender. But when you have two below the rim finishers and the only guy back is a guard, all you need to do is split the guard. All you need to do is split the guard. And you can do it multiple ways, but you instinctively have to understand how to play basketball to do that. And it's kind of crazy to me that two, not one, but two former McDonald's All-Americans, two, not one, Gatorade National Player of the Year, cannot make a fucking layup over the Utah Jazz on a 3-on-1 fast break. It is truly crazy. Once again, if Grady cannot pass right here, but you understand what I'm saying, right? If RJ is maybe a little bit closer to where Jacoby is, then Jacoby fans out to the corner, and RJ is a great pass target. So then the defender cannot, right? Like the defender cannot guard two players at once, but here the defender is willing to guard, and RJ takes away the pass, and here it's just really bad. Now here, if you're not so right-hand dominant, you make this pass with your left hand. Once the defender commits, this is what you need. You need to get a defensive commitment. You need to get the defender off bounds. And look at RJ. He's still thinking score. Oh, you nitwit. This is not your scoring opportunity. Create space for somebody else, but you're not thinking about it. And here, you don't even offensive rebound, and you allow the guy to cut behind you and get the board. You had defensive position here. Watch, because if you weren't thinking only about yourself, then you would actually realize there is a player behind you, and you would put an ass on him and box him out. You would stop short, make sure that guy, you'd be thinking about Jacoby, you'd be thinking about yourself, but here, this is just unforgivable. I said this, the caption was, this is unforgivable process. A lot of people took that to mean that I'm mad that somebody missed a layup. No, man. In professional basketball, amateur basketball, high school basketball, college basketball, players miss layups all the time. To miss a layup on a 3-on-1 where you have numbers and you have box out, like you have box out position, to not only miss the layup, smoke it badly, but also not get the rebound is completely unforgivable. It is stupid. I'm sick and tired of the Raptors doing this shit. It's bad, yo. It's really bad. Now, it's here, great two-way effort here by Sandro Mamukelashvili, who was very active in the passing lanes, but also kind of the recipient of the Jazz just throwing in the ball a few times. This is one of those times. They try to make this pass to Filipowski. Mamu just takes it behind the back. Oh, what a luxury it is to have a 6'9" player who can split the double team. You know, Mamu is so underrated as a skills guy. So underrated. I guarantee you there's like 4 players on this team that can make that exact move, and he's one of them. And he's your 6'9" minimum backup wing, big, center, power forward, small forward. Like it's just really cool to have a big playmaker who can do shit like this. It's really cool. And then, oh, the play is not done. So Mamu, now going back the other way, is going to do the one thing that everyone swears he can't do. So it's good overall effort by Scottie Barnes, who had 2 fouls at that point. Kyle Filipowski misses another layup. And here, Filipowski goes up. And guess what? Mr. T-Rex Arms, who has no vert at the rim, is going to get blocked on the way down by Mamu. Good job, Mamu. Good job. And then he beast-snarled him. Now, I said Scottie Barnes is like that. Let me turn the volume off here. He had some really good plays in this game. Here, look at this. Look away. Every defender right now is thinking Jacoby or Jamal Shed because he's looking off RJ Barrett precisely to dart the ball to RJ Barrett. And RJ Barrett, of course, is thinking score. Markelle Fultz, we already looked at this play. Markelle, give and go. Scottie Barnes, good job. Next play up. Once again, Scottie Barnes looking off RJ Barrett, and then last second finds him right over the defense. Another Kennedy Chandler special. The Raptors absolutely abused Kennedy Chandler. Now this one, once again, Kennedy Chandler abandons the assignment. Scottie Barnes, turnaround jumper on the right side. Sorry, on the left side. This time, turnaround jumper on the right side. Once again, Kennedy Chandler. What are you doing, Will Hardy, having Kennedy Chandler guarding Scottie Barnes? And here, Scottie Barnes hits his first of 2 end of quarter buzzer beaters, this time from 3. Really nice to see that. Really nice to see that. Very efficient game from Scottie Barnes. Once again, to the Markelle Fultz is absolutely ass crowd. This is what Markelle can do. Markelle is a really good defender in the gaps, and he is a really active, good hand-eye coordination guy in terms of transition. Here, get out in transition, and we unfortunately lose the ball. Now, again, sometimes this team blows obvious scoring opportunities, very obvious scoring opportunities. This was not going to be one of them. Here we go. Defense converges. Mamu knocks it loose. Jacoby helps. Markelle is the recipient. Now, there is an obvious pass and a very stupid pass and a dumb thing you can do here. If you're Markelle Fultz, the dumbest thing you can, the worst thing you can do here is pass to Sandro Mamukelashvili or Jacoby Walter. One who is behind the play, does not have numbers. The other who is not a really good ball handler. So sometimes knowing your personnel matters a lot too. The second stupidest thing you could do here is hold the ball and slow down for whatever reason. You have numbers, get out and run. You've got 3 defenders behind you, 1 adjacent to you on the left wing. If you pass down center, this is a touchdown. Okay. This is a touchdown. This is football. This is a touchdown. Okay. And if you Markelle Fultz, there are very few ways to screw this up, but there is a good decision. There is a right decision. And the right decision is lead RJ Barrett into this pass. Don't throw it to RJ Barrett. Throw it ahead of RJ Barrett. Court map correctly and know there's nothing ahead of him. And boom, here it comes. And RJ Barrett, this is one layup or one dunk. He's not going to get blocked on or smoked. Good stuff. I said this is the best the Raptors offense has looked all year. I'm not even kidding. I really don't think it's that much of a stretch to say this is like one of the best offensive games the Raptors played all season. Here, Jamison Battle secures the rebound. Scottie Barnes slows down. Dribble manipulation. Ace Bailey falls asleep, and boom, Jamison Battle cuts right behind him, and Ace Bailey is none the wiser. Very smart pass. I said, I already talked about that. Here we go. You know, you want to talk about clutch gene. Scottie Barnes is number 2 in the NBA in field goal percentage in the clutch time. Scottie Barnes is number 1 in the league in blocks in clutch time. In fact, he has more blocks than many teams do. Can we talk about Scottie Barnes for clutch player of the year? Could we do that? No, we're not going to do that. He doesn't score enough. He only averages 18.8 points per game. So we're not going to talk about Scottie as clutch player of the year. He's one of the most clutch players, and he has been for years. And this is a guy who has, at one point in that second year when he was struggling, he was 5th in the NBA in clutch time scoring. Scottie just really has another gear. And here, he takes that other gear, and what ends a really bad stretch of 2 minutes of basketball for the Raptors on a pretty high note going into that fourth quarter huddle. It ties the most points in a quarter in Raptors history. I do not have clips for you from the fourth quarter, but I assure you it was not a fun quarter to watch. A lot of things went wrong for the Raptors in the fourth quarter, including poor defensive rotations, terrible offensive process, turnovers, etc. Right? It was just bad. And it wasn't all on one player. It's not all on Grady for getting lost defensively. It wasn't on Markelle Fultz necessarily for not knowing how to run his team, even though every single thing that he was doing wrong, Jamal Shed came in and immediately made right. Is that a little bit of luck? Maybe. You know, Jamal Shed comes in and he bangs a 30-foot buzzer beater, off the backboard. Is that luck? Yeah, a little bit, for sure. But, hey, man, the Raptors went a long time without a bucket in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. They went through a extensive drought. Let me show you what I mean. The Raptors went right here. So this game at its maximum was 107-74. Like, we were on the verge of a 45, 50-point blowout. Okay. And then from this point that I'm identifying right here to this point, this point right here, where it's a 12-point game, this entire stretch is horrible basketball. The Raptors played about 12 minutes of absolutely terrible basketball, and they played 36 minutes of what was really good basketball. Is that fair to say? Yeah. I mean, they start out kind of slow, sluggish. Their Utah Jazz lead 9-4, but then the Raptors quickly pull it back 10-12, 18-14. By the time it was 21-15, it was just over. And then the Raptors come out in the third quarter and they just hit the hammer. The defense notches up another level. Scottie's being active. CMB's getting blocks. Everything is going right for the Raptors. All the shots are going in. Threes can't miss. Jacoby can't miss. Jameson can't miss. RJ can't miss. 18 points in the third quarter for RJ Barrett. The Raptors absolutely won this game in the third quarter. They had a massive differential. They outscored the Jazz by 19 points in the third quarter. 19. They won this game by 16, which means if you remove the third quarter, the Raptors lost this game. That's tough. That's tough, right? Now, as it pertains to Markelle Fultz or not Markelle Fultz or any of that stuff, look, man, I think you can replace a lot of what Markelle does in the draft. You could look at a guy like Bennett Sturtz, not a one-for-one comparison, but a heady point guard who's bigger, on the bigger side than at least Jamal Shed, probably 6'2", 6'3", 6'4"-ish. You could look at guys who are maybe a lot more expensive, like Derek White. That's definitely going to be in the wrong ballpark. I think there's players, man. Like I definitely think there are players who can make the simple reads. I think there are players who know how to play basketball. And I know it sounds a little bit silly to be saying that professional basketball players don't know how to play basketball. Uh-oh. Moses Moody just destroyed his knee? Question mark. Did he? What happened? Oh boy. He had 23 points too. Holy shit. Yeah, left on a stretcher. Damn. Dude. After I just made a video saying that Moses Moody is like a player that I think we should target. Damn. Look, I think when you look at teams, when you look at games like this, you always have to realize here's the crazy thing. I was watching the Clippers game when when Sean Livingston had that catastrophic injury. I remember that game. I think all of us, for the most part, were watching the Kevin Durant game, against the Raptors in the finals when he tore his Achilles. I was watching Damian Lillard as he tore his Achilles. I was watching Jason Tatum as he tore his Achilles. Was I watching? Yes, I was watching the Lakers game when Kobe tore his Achilles. It's kind of weird that I've watched so many Achilles being torn while I was watching the game. I got to tell you, it's heartbreaking every single time. I specifically remember the Jorge Garbajosa injury. I very much remember the TJ Ford injury. Every one of these games I was watching on the television live. Now, I've never been in the building to see one of those horrific injuries, but I have seen it live. And every time a team that I'm rooting for is up like 20, 25 points, and someone's like, no, go for the record. I can't, man. I can't. I know you're not supposed to play scared. I understand that shit like this can happen at any point, right? Like what happened to Moses Moody, I'm assuming right now, it could happen to anyone, yo. And this is why you don't want to overextend players. You don't want to play them too many minutes. You don't want to be playing them in garbage time. You don't want to play heavy minutes on back-to-backs. And people clown it. People say like, oh, this generation is soft. No, this generation is playing a different game. Y'all are stupid. You don't understand. Like these old heads. Now, some people consider me an old head, like whatever. But some of these old heads to be on TV, like back in my generation, they play 82 games, 40 minutes a night. Like, bro, go watch your games. Go watch the games. Y'all running up and down. Y'all have no manipulation. The guys are slower. Moves are a lot less taxing on the body. Yeah, you might get elbowed once in a while. No one's losing their career to an elbow to the face. Okay? Oh my God, Rob searched up pictures of his knee. Why would I do that to myself? Like, I can already understand that people are telling me like that it's a horrific injury. Why would I subject myself to having to see it? I don't want to see it. I'm not a masochist. Is that masochism or sadism? It's masochism, right? Shoot, man. Terrence Davis saying CMB in Garden Centers all season until Yak came back. Here's a hot take. I think the Raptors defense is much, much better when Colin Murray-Boyles plays than when Jakob Poeltl plays. Well, here's the thing. I try. Here are the thoughts that I have every morning as I wake up. So I wake up and I'm like, today is going to be a good day. I do my positive affirmations. I think about what I plan to do on the day. I think about cinema. I think about the Raptors. I think about working out. I think about, making a good meal for myself. These are the things I think about in the morning. And then sometime around like 15, 14 minutes after waking up, as I'm about to just make my coffee, I think, one of these, I just have this moment where I'm just like, Jakob Poeltl is going to make $27 million in the same year that Emmanuel Quickley is going to make $32 million. And then, yeah, that kind of ruins my day every single day when I think about that. So I try not to think about it, but thank you so much for reminding us in this glorious, glorious moment that Jakob Poeltl will eventually be making $27 million. I try to forget, dude. I'm trying. Tetrahedron saying, I am much like Pinky in the Brain. I spend most days thinking about taking over the world, but sadly, I can never find a pair of rubber pants my size. The jokes continue. Okay. CMB is a capable rotational defender. I mean, guy, what are you doing? Capable rotational defender? He is not a capable rotational defender. Colin Murray-Boyles is not a capable rotational defender. He might be the closest thing to a generational defender in the NBA, not named Scottie Barnes, Victor Wembanyama, and like 4 other guys. You don't, I feel like people don't understand how good he is defensively. Like, he is incredible. He's already switchable. He's probably, listen, let me put it this way. Here's a fun little, thought experiment. It's game 7 of the NBA Finals. It's a one-possession game against the San Antonio Spurs. Victor Wembanyama has the ball. Who's the best defender in the NBA on that possession? Who's the best primary defender on that possession? Go down your list of guys that you would think about for that. Scottie Barnes, Asar Thompson, Rudy Gobert, Chet Holmgren, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Stewart, Derek White, too small. I'm thinking of guys. Bam Adebayo. That's the right answer. It's these two right here. These will be your best hope of actually slowing down a Victor Wembanyama who has not yet put on the muscle. Now, once he put on the muscle, it's game over. Kawhi? No, not Kawhi. No, not Jaylen Brown. No, not Cade Cunningham. Although, like, I'm thinking Isaiah Stewart probably would be my first pick, if I'm being honest. Like, Isaiah Stewart, Colin Murray-Boyles, Scottie Barnes, Asar Thompson, eventually Carter Bryant. Oso Iguodala also would be sneaky, not a bad pick. Who else? Tari Eason probably wouldn't be like the worst defender. Giannis? No, I don't know about Giannis. OG is a good one. But CMB is right there. In terms of defensively. His defense is so far ahead of his offense right now. Like, Colin Murray-Boyles has some skills defensively for sure. Skills offensively for sure. He's a decent processor of the court. He has a reasonably compact handle. He's okay off the dribble. Like, there's some driving chops there. The jump shot is going to be a work in progress. The finishing at the rim is going to be a major swing for him. And playmaking advancements are going to go a really long way. But he is not an explosive athlete at the rim. And so that's always going to be a bit limiting in terms of, like, how close can he get to Scottie Barnes? And he's a lot smaller than Scottie Barnes. But as a defender, dude, this is special shit. I watch rookie OG as a defender. I watch rookie Scottie as a defender. He's better than both of them. As a defender, 100%. And y'all know how much I love Scottie and OG, right? CMB is a better defender than both those guys as rookies. Like, he is so good. If you look at dunks and threes right now, I think Colin Murray Boyle's like a 2. Defensive EPM at 2. Do you understand like how freaking rare that is? No, he is so good defensively. Like, Jakob Poeltl's not a bad defender by any means. He's not a great defender. He's not a bad defender. And the fact that the Raptors defense is actually better with him, like, you really, this is not a decent rotational defender, which is the comment that triggered me in the first place. It's not a decent rotational defender. This is a potentially generational defender, potentially a 1 of 1 type of defender, like maybe a 1 of 3, 1 of 4 type of defender. This is a lockdown system plus switchable plus man defender. Like, again, we talked a lot about defense on the panel last week, and I love that we did, because I think defense is so misunderstood. And we talked about LeBron versus Kawhi, which was a great opportunity to talk about system versus man, right? Like, when you talk about like attack dog defenders like Tony Allen versus when you talk about defensive unit system guys like Rudy Gobert, Draymond Green. And I think CMB has the potential to do both. And I think Scottie has the potential to do both. And I think when you put them both in the same lineup, if you could put like 3 great shooters around those 3, you might have something very special, because they can do so much defensively. If those 2 are on the same side of the court, like, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. One of my most underrated defenders, probably in NBA history, is Otto Porter. Y'all didn't get to see like the best of Otto Porter in Toronto for sure, but even in the glimpses that you saw of him, you saw like so many times when he was on the left side of the court, that side of the court was very cramped. So even after all the injuries and everything, Otto was still a very special defender. So yeah, I have a particular affinity for like 6'7", 6'8", super switchable, super high activity motor, can protect the rim, can guard the perimeter type of defenders, can get around a screen every now and again. And Colin Murray Boyles is very fleet of foot. Like, he's a big guy. He's obviously like very well built. He's built like a linebacker, but he is very fleet of foot, Sneaky take. Josh Minot would be decent on Wemby. Yeah, guys like Josh might be a little too slight of frame to really bump Wemby off his spots, but Josh is a pretty good defender. Jaden McDaniels is a really good defender. Lou Dort's a really good defender. There's a lot of really great defenders in the NBA that could give Wemby a new look. But in terms of like guarding him for 1 possession with the game on the line, I don't think I'm getting to 10 players before I get to CMB. So again, that in and of itself should tell you a lot. And by the way, I could probably say that about a lot of players. Like, who do you want guarding Shea? On this team, who do you want guarding Shea? I think Jonathan Mobo, CMB, Scottie. Like, there's only 3 options, period. There's nobody else. Like, Jacoby is way too small to guard Shea consistently. I'm looking forward to Jacoby, man. Like, Jacoby is like such an interesting player. First of all, like, y'all know, I love Jacoby. Like, I've been petitioning for this guy to start since his rookie season. So I've really been a big fan for the last little bit here. And I'm very happy for him, very happy for his family, very happy for Eric, his trainer, and a lot of people that have put a lot of work into the offseason with this dude. But man, like, the start that he got off to was kind of depressing. Like, it was a little bit slow. He couldn't make shots. But now he is on fire. And I have to say, I think a lot of the credit for how Jacoby's playing right now has to go to Brandon Ingram as well. Ingram, from my sources, has been a very, very big supporter of Jacoby behind the scenes. He's been huge encouraging him. Jacoby looks up to him. They have like a big bro, little bro relationship. They're always talking to each other. And I think that is rubbing off on him, right? Like, when the best scorer on your team is like, bro, shoot the ball. You're really, really good basketball player. Like, I want you to take this shot, etc. It breeds a lot of confidence in you. Hopefully, the worst thing you could do as a basketball player is start playing really tight. And I feel like a lot of times the Raptors do play very tight, right? Looking like a young KCP. Yeah, that was one of the most frequent draft comparisons. Yeah. Terrence Davis saying Brandon Ingram said Kobe was going to be his rook last year. Well, Scottie Barnes, Brandon Ingram. How many guys on this team would you think grew up Kobe Bryant fans? When you got a kid named Jacoby Walter on your team, yeah, you're gonna be a little partial to that player. So, anyways, the Raptors escape. It seems weird to say that, but I got to tell you that a little bit that little stretch that they went on was truly horrendous. The Golden State Warriors end up escaping the Dallas Mavericks. Good stuff. And the LA Clippers are on the verge of absolutely destroying the Milwaukee Bucks. So that's happening. All right, let's take a quick look at the standings before we look at the Raptors' remaining schedule. The Raptors maintain a half-game lead at this moment against the Atlanta Hawks. Not great. The Hawks are 9-1 over the last 10. The Raptors are 5-5. So if you need a clue in terms of which team is trending which direction, the Raptors, Sixers, Magic, and Heat are 5-5 over the last 10. The Hornets, Cavaliers, Knicks, and Pistons are 7-3. The Boston Celtics are 6-4, and the Hawks are 9-1. And the Raptors are half a game ahead of the Hawks. I got to tell you, I think it's very likely the Raptors end up at 6th. I'm just getting that feeling. In terms of the next game the Raptors play, the Raptors are off tomorrow, which is great. Great for me because I get to go watch a movie in theaters tomorrow night. And I'm also on the panel tomorrow. But the Raptors will be facing an old friend, Kawhi Leonard, and the Los Angeles Clippers. Kawhi's playing, right? He's not out anymore. Is he playing? Yeah, he's back. 28 points for Kawhi tonight, 19 points for Brook Lopez, 13 points for Darius Garland. Darius Garland had a 41-point game very recently as well. Ty Washington getting minutes. Jeez. Kobe Sanders, 19 points off the bench. Man, like the Milwaukee Bucks are so fried right now. You got Pete Nance minutes, Gary Trent Jr. off the bench minutes, AJ Green, Bobby Portis. There's really no excuse for this team to be this bad, yo. There's really no excuse for this team to be this bad. Like they're actively tanking at this point, and it's so obvious by the minutes distribution, but like shit. This is bad. Anyways, I did like Kobe Sanders in the pre-draft cycle last year, so nice to see him succeeding. All right. I remember a lot of players that were made fun of last year. Like when I was nerding out over the draft last year. I remember talking about Kobe Sanders. I remember talking about AJ Mitchell, although he was a previous year draft guy. When we were on playback on Player's Choice, I remember talking about these guys a lot. I remember talking a lot about Maxime Renaud, Carter Bryant, a lot of these guys that just flew under the radar. And it's nice to see that as the season plays out, right? Like we are seeing more and more of those young players emerging. I also have to say I talked a lot of shit about Ace Bailey last year, so not all takes are correct. Ace Bailey has been hooping out of his mind the last few games. He is really, really finding a rhythm, and this is exactly the part of the season that players like this tend to go off. No Kizzy said, Ben, who do you want the Raptors to draft this year? Well, it's probably between Ben and Sturtz or a Daymara. One of those two guys certainly hit a sweet spot for me. So, John Hamilton saying trade Grady for Trendon Watford. My friend, it takes two to tango. Karen Hall saying tiebreaker over Atlanta, though. You are correct. The Raptors have whooped Atlanta and whooped Cleveland this year. So if they do end up in a tie situation with either one of those teams, they own the tiebreaker. I wonder how many other teams the Raptors own tiebreaker over. I know Cleveland and Atlanta for sure. The Raptors have whooped that team, but it's kind of interesting. You know, sometimes the schedule breaks out a certain way. We didn't really play the Hawks when they were playing their best basketball. We played them when they were playing the worst basketball of the year. And now they're playing much better basketball. I have no idea if we would beat Atlanta today. Yeah. The real truth said, I don't see the Raptors beating the Clips on Wednesday. Most likely a Clippers blowout win. I actually tend to agree with you. I don't think the Raptors are going to win on Wednesday either. So you'll slip to 6th, more than likely, right? But we can look momentarily at also the Atlanta Hawks schedule, because the Atlanta Hawks, they do have a very easy game on Wednesday, which is going to be a slam dunk victory against the Memphis Grizzlies. They also have tomorrow off. Wait a second. They already got their victory. What the fuck? Oh, their next game is against Detroit. Oh, they're getting smacked. Okay. They're going to lose against Detroit, Boston, win against Sacramento. Let's just count these wins up. And then they got a game against, and then Cleveland, Miami, New York. This is good. So every single game they have remaining other than Sacramento is against the Eastern Conference, which means if they beat Boston twice, I mean, we're not going to catch Boston. Let's just be for real here. But it is cool, man. The Raptors get to 40 wins. A lot of people had this team winning like 35, 34, 33. Vegas set the over-under line at 37.5. The fact that they already have 40 and they have a long way to go, it's cool. Now we can just do a momentary projection of the Raptors wins for the rest of the year, just based on how it looks, right? So from my perspective, this is what I think the Raptors following like the games are going to look like for the Raptors. I think you lose in LA, unfortunately. So you go to 40 and 32. So from there, I think you beat New Orleans. I think you beat Orlando. I think you lose to Detroit. Yes, even without Cade, I think now you lose to Detroit. That's 2 wins. You get Sacramento, Memphis. That's 4 wins. You get one of Miami, New York. That's 5 wins. And you get Brooklyn. That's 6 wins. 46 wins. You're going to be a 46 win team. Is that progress? Over 30 wins? Yes, it's progress. It's huge progress. Is it ideal? No. Obviously, it's not ideal. But you do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games, which means 51 wins is still possible. If you go on a tear and win 10 straight from here on out, yes, 51 wins or 11 straight, 51 wins is possible. It's not going to happen though. More than likely, the Raptors end up at 46 to 48, and that's exactly where I kind of thought they would towards the end of this, towards the beginning of this year. Like I infamously said, the Raptors will be a 50-win team this year. And as I watched this team more and more and kind of saw their offensive holes, I'm like, maybe I adjust myself to about 45. So ending up at 47 feels about right. Anyways, I mean, look, there's no shame in losing to the Clippers. I personally hope the Raptors whoop the Clippers, given everything that happened this offseason, going into their building, going into the Intuit Dome, seeing stupid ass Steve Ballmer there, knowing the Clippers basically fucked the Raptors over. I feel like there should be a little bit of animosity behind this game, given the entire controversy of the offseason. I know it's not being played up. It's certainly not going to be played up by the Raptors media guys, but I hope somebody plays it up. I'm going to play it up. Fuck it. I'm going to play it up. But one of the reasons I don't want to play it up is I actually suspect the Raptors will lose this game. So, coming off a blow-up victory against the Utah Jazz, feeling nice about yourself. Brandon Ingram probably going to be back. Probably going to try to prove himself and out Kawhi. And honestly, you're not going to out Kawhi Leonard. So if the Raptors want to go band for band, Ingram versus Kawhi, the Raptors will lose that game. If the Raptors want to win that game, well, then you should run. You should play like how you did tonight. You should play through Scottie Barnes. You should run all the time. You should exploit their considerable defensive liabilities all over the court. Darius Garland, bad defender. Spread out. Hopefully, like if Jakob Poeltl is not playing, Sandro Mamukelashvili starts again. Spread out Brook Lopez. Put him into space. Put him into actions. I just think Grady Dick's not going to be playable in that game. I don't know if Markelle Fultz will be playable in that game. Yeah. I'd like to see Ingram out Ingram. Yeah. Hire Mike Malone, said John Hamilton. Not necessarily sure how I feel about that. If I'm being honest, I'm not sure how I feel about that. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. You target Darius Garland, but unfortunately, the Raptors will be possibly, if Emmanuel Quickley is not starting, you'll have Jamal Shed. And I mean, like, Jamal Shed, no offense, Darius guard Jamal Shed. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the players who are hardest to guard are the ones who are super shifty, large, athletic, explosive, and can score on 3 levels. That's what makes you hard to guard. Jamal Shed is somewhat predictable. I actually have this feeling that he's going to get massively exposed in the playoffs, and I'm not looking forward to that. But there's a lot of players in this team that can get massively exposed in the playoffs. Massively. So continued success for Jacoby Walter, continued success for Sandro Mamukelashvili, hopeful success for, the rest of the young guys on this team, because some of them looked very bad today. Hopefully health and recovery for Scottie Barnes. Hopefully RJ Barrett's hand is okay. He was holding his left hand for a bit, and I was like, uh-oh. He's a left-hand shooter, and he don't go right, and he can't shoot right. So that would be devastating for the Raptors at this time. RJ Barrett has been on a massive heater over the last 10, 12 games. His numbers have been off the chart. And every time RJ Barrett has a good game, I'm just like, yeah, man. Yeah. boost that trade value. But also, there's a part of me, and this is the thought I have every day after I think about Jakob Poeltl's contract is, yeah, Jakob Poeltl's going to end up 27, and yeah, Emmanuel Quickley's going to be at 32. But is there a chance that RJ Barrett's going to be at 32 as well? Like, is there a chance that Bobby Webster sees the success that this team has this year? And it's just like, well, how can you tell a 48 win team that they're not coming back? You know, a nice little play on the Fred VanVleet. How can you tell a NBA champion to tank? Like, I don't trust it. I trust myself a lot more than I trust the front office for the first time in a long time. So I'm a little bit scared of that. But hopefully the Raptors understand that RJ Barrett, what he does very much can be replaced. He's an opportunistic, scorer for sure. John Hamilton saying RJ 4 years, 120. Dude, if RJ Barrett ends up making more money than Jalen Suggs, I will be shocked. Nah, dude. I would not pay RJ Barrett a dime over 4 years, 82. Like that's extending it far. And even still, I don't feel great about it. I'm sorry. I cannot get behind the value proposition of a $30 million contract for RJ Barrett. Like it feels very wrong. Very wrong. You're convincing a Canadian to play in Canada. Is that where we're at right now? Is that how sad it has gotten? Yeesh. Yak has to come back next game, Lopez. The very fact that we are so worried about Brook Lopez should tell you how screwed we are in the next game. Anyways, I will talk to y'all later. No Collins today. Super cool. Good. Feel good victory. Raptors, go to LA, rest up. You're in for the fight of your life against the Clippers, who are actually fighting for their playoff lives right now. So they have a lot to play for. You also have a lot to play for. Avoiding the play-in would be incredibly important for the Raptors. And right now, they're not really avoiding the play-in at all, because as I sees it, where the hell are we? We are exactly a game and a half out of the play-in. Philly is at 13.5. Now, again, Philly, Orlando, and Miami are playing bad basketball. So this is a chance for the Raptors to go on like a little run to separate yourself. Because so far there's one tier, which is Detroit, all by itself. Then there's a second tier, which is Boston, New York, and Cleveland, right? That's 1, 2, 3. Then there's the Raptors, the Hawks, the Sixers, the Magic, the Heat, and the Charlotte Hornets. It's like all one group. What I would like to do is by next week, I would like for the Raptors to isolate themselves and the Hawks from the rest of this pack. So we can stop thinking about, oh my God, what if we end up at 7th and we have to play in the play-in? I would just love for this team to have the maturity to say, hey man, we worked super hard all year. Let's not blow this right at the end. Yeah. Alexander saying they'll give him 4 years, 100. I just don't think $25 million is worth it. Yeah. Anyways, talk to y'all later. Have a beautiful, beautiful night. I'll catch y'all tomorrow on the panel, 11 a.m. I will be there. Will you be there? Player's choice. Check us out. Peace.